The mod community for Crusader Kings 3 has been hard at work adding mods to the game or bridging the content gap between the previous installment of Crusader Kings 3 with its newest edition. In this video today, I'm going to give you 10 more quality of life mods for your next or even current playthrough of Crusader Kings 3. I've done one of these already, kind of covering a lot of the general mods out there, but also some total conversion mods you can find that linked in the upper right corner. The way I'm going to structure this video is quickly going over each mod and what it adds to the game. Really helps out that general quality of life. There are 2 mods on this list that could potentially mess with game balance, and I'll give the appropriate warnings in those sections. If you'd like to quickly jump ahead or see what mods are in this list, you can find them listed in the chapters or on the timeline in the description. Also, you'll find a link to the Steam Workshop page for each relevant mod if you want to check it out yourself. And before we get going, as always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying this type of content. As exhausting as it is to hear, I cannot stress enough how much it helps any content creator you watch. And also a huge shout out to the developers of these mods. They've made amazing additions or patched holes in the game that were desperately needed. So a huge thank you there. But let's get started on the top 10 quality of life mods for Crusader Kings 3. And number 10, first mod on our list is the IR terrain mod. And IR in this case stands for Imperator Rome. So one of the big gripes with Crusader Kings 3 is that when you actually look at the campaign map, it kind of feels a little cartoony. It feels very bland. It feels very one note. And a lot of people have mentioned how much they actually enjoyed the campaign map of Imperator Rome. So as we zoom in, you're going to see what happens here once the map kind of jumps to a more, I guess, geographical portion of it. You get a lot of reflective water here. It's very indicative of the same style that you get with Imperator Rome. But the really nice thing too is you can see where all the river systems are in location, so you know if you're about to go across a river crossing when it comes to moving your armies across the map. It just makes the map really come to life, or life, not live. And as you get closer into the map, you can see that the terrain actually has a lot more character to it. You can see the farmlands a little bit better, and those kind of really help break up the monotony of what otherwise would just simply be a green field. Especially if we jump over here into portions of Egypt, there is a really nice stark contrast between the fertile river and the actual desert outside of it. You can see the pyramids of Giza right there, and it looks really, really good. And this is such a light, easy mod to pop into the game that it just kind of makes the whole thing just look a lot better, really come to life a lot more. And while it is not the craziest mod out there, it's just one that really makes the game feel a little bit more lifelike, and I really can't recommend it enough. So please check out the IR terrain mod. Our next big quality of life update is the expanded alerts mod. Now this one is, again, very light, very easy, and this is the very beginning of the game. I've let it progress a little bit to give us a bunch of examples of this mod, but really what it adds is alerts for all the systems within the game that really just aren't there by default. So an example of these would be assigning a guardian, calling an ally to war, not enough knights in your realm, no court physician, that's a huge one, a truce ending, a hostile siege, hook expiring, another big one, and also the ability to know whether or not a neighbor will accept vassalization. It just pops up as a alert. So if I hover over these here, you know, guardians can be assigned with Roger de Hauteville, no court physician, empty council position, that one's there by default. Another guardian could be assigned, guardian, and guardian. So it's just really nice to be able to get these kind of on the fly rather than having them either nested in the current situation tabs or just not there overall. Again, a very light mod, but one I really, really recommend is the expanded alerts mod. How many times have you booted up a campaign only to find out that your realm priest is garbage? Well, with the Farewell Chaplain mod, you can fix that pretty easily with a decision without having to just murder the person. So let's take a look here. We've just booted up a Tuscany campaign, and let's look at our court. Our bishop has a stinking learning of 8. Well, if we jump over here into the decisions, we get request realm priest substitution. So what happens here, you'll be offered 2 options for possible realm priest substitutes. Now, the big thing here is that this is dependent upon your relation with your head of faith. So if you're struggling, say, with the Pope, then this is going to cost you more piety to do. Anywhere between 150 and 250, says the Steam Workshop page. In addition to that, the realm priest itself will cost you some money, between 30 to 75. And you're locked into this for 10 years. So there is a little bit of innate balance in there, which I do like. So let's visit your head of faith. Unpause to have that go through, and we shall see what happens here. So, Farewell Chaplain, and it gives me 2 different options here. I have got this guy I can choose from, who's got a nice 21 learning, or this guy I can choose from, who's got 17 learning. And his actual culture will be dependent upon either the head of faith or your own. So I can say, hey, you know what? This guy's the better one. I'll go with him. It's going to cost me 75 gold, and I'll lose, obviously, opinion with my current realm priest. Or the other guy is going to cost me 65. Now, I could choose not to, and it's going to cost me opinion with the Pope. So do know that if you choose not to, it is going to cost you some money if you decide to just go ahead and murder your realm priest. So we'll click this, get a new realm priest. The existing head of faith gets a hook on you, which is kind of scary, but at least now we have a jacked 21 learning realm priest. So this is the nice, easy, crisp Farewell Chaplain mod. The Better AI Education mod does just that. It fixes the terrible education choices that the AI typically makes in the base game by really making it so that the wards and the education focus of their children is a lot more succinct and cohesive. Now, you might think that this is just important for your family, but it actually has wide sweeping effects on the entire game. So let's take a look at one of the children of the Doge of Pisa here, Roberto, who is a rowdy character, means he's really good at either martial or intrigue for his initial foray as a kid. So they've chosen martial education focus. And then the character is the actual father, who has very high martial skill. And that's pretty common. We see the game almost always choosing martial skill for a lot of the kids. But this is also represented in different ways. So take a look at King Harold Godwinson here. His daughter has very, very high inclination towards diplomacy and learning. And the relationship with her guardian is Matt here. And Matt has extremely high diplomacy with also a 3-star charismatic negotiator. So the Better AI Education helps to make the map a lot better as far as the rulers go. But most importantly, it's really going to help out with ensuring that any kids that you have actually spend the proper time putting proper wards in for their children, so you don't end up with a dynasty that is just completely wayward when it comes to education. Now, our next mod, Night Manager, aims to fix something that I'm sure you've encountered: your heir randomly dying in battle. So let's take a look here at the Night Management screen. It's almost so previewing another one of the mods we're going to talk about. But the Night Manager has got these separate groups: Dynasty, Council, Bad Fighters, Offspring, Lovers, Spouses, Heirs, and Average Fighters. Essentially, by clicking any one of these buttons, so let's go ahead and click my Dynasty, it removes them from possible candidates for knighthood. In fact, it just completely removes them from this overall screen. And it allows you to really kind of custom pick stuff. So let's say, for example, I don't really want any one of my council members to fight as a knight, because if I lose them, that guy had a really high diplomacy and I don't have another good diplomat. Well, I can click this button and I'll have no knights that are from my council fighting on the battlefield, which is quite nice. Again, you can do stuff like my heir. I can make it so there's no bad fighters, so anyone with prowess below 6, boom. I can get even rid of average fighters, which is 13 and below. So I only have really good fighters, which in my case is only these 2 right here, and one of them's not even in my court. But let's go ahead and turn all these back on real quick. I do have another option. So let's say, my brother here, he's a tank, and I really want him to fight, but the rest of my dynasty, I don't want any part of this. Well, I can click this button, and that removes it from this manager's kind of abilities. It kind of removes it out from the filtering. And then I click this. You see my brother is still here, but anyone else from my dynasty is no longer eligible to be a knight. So this thing is very powerful to really help you kind of auto manage your knights without every time jumping into the screen. Okay, make sure my son is not a knight. Okay, make sure this new counselor that I just assigned is not a knight. All of these things is a really nice little powerful tool that helps out a ton when it comes to managing your knights in your realm. Number 5 on our list is a pretty easy one. It is the unit graphics mod that really helps to lift the unit graphics of the game to the next level. Now, these are all just the default images. They've just been kind of processed. They've gone through some HD, little better increase on their contrast. They just look overall a lot sharper. So you can see here as we click through some of them, pretty much all the generic unit cards in the game have been given this treatment. So you can see they look just a lot better and a lot sharper. You can see it present on some of the other ones that I maybe have not recruited, but any of your current unit cards will get this facelift, and it is a really nice little bump to the overall quality of the game. Now, on the discussion of units, if you want to add more cultural and regional men-at-arms, this mod will be for you. Now, I'm going to warn you that some of these units are going to just throw some balance out of the game, so use this with a bit of caution and with the notion that, hey, you know, I'm going to be adding these in because I want to spice up the playthroughs that I'm going through. But take a look at this, right? So we get a bunch of new innovations that add new units into the game depending upon where you are across the map. So the Norman Conquest here, you can recruit Norman Knights. And a lot of these pictures too are borrowed from Total War that has just been put through Photoshop to make them kind of fit the overall aesthetic of the game, which I like a lot here. So you can see just some examples of these units and how they can actually come into your game. So let's jump over here to another one, get some archers. You can see these guys right there. And again, some of them are pretty broken, right? They're really strong in a lot of locations. These Norman Knights, the Sissulo Norman Knights are really sick too. Like, so you get a bunch of different variety, and it makes every cultural playthrough in the game that you're doing, it's got a little bit more gravitas to it, right? Like you've got Swabian swordsmen that give you really nice two-handed sword infantry. Or if you're playing as the Welsh, you get the Welsh bowmen as starting off in tribal. So there's a whole bunch of different units added to the game that really add a lot of flavor to a lot of the cultures across the map. Now, our next mod we've already gone through before in a specific mod showcase, but the Res Publica mod adds Republic gameplay to Crusader Kings 3. It does borrow heavily from the notions of the Crusader Kings 2 Republic play options that were added with the Merchant Republics, but it does them one step further and really adds a lot of nice granularity into it and makes it a bit better than the Merchant Republic mod that came out. In addition to, you've got multiple types of Republic. So if you take a look at this, we jump to Republic, we can look at the three we've got: Senate, Council, and elected rulers. So go ahead and take a look at the video in my upper right corner, or in the upper right corner, if you want to see a little bit more about this mod. But it is a lot of fun in adding gameplay to republics, or if you want to play as a feudal ruler and transition to republic, you can with a major decision within the mod itself. Number 2 on our list here is the community flavor pack, and this one is huge. I think really honestly everyone should be using this mod because it adds so many really nice flavorful cosmetics to the game, and it really makes them based off of the culture of the regions that would be using them. So across the map, everyone's going to be using these cultural cosmetics, and it makes the game really come to life. So we're using the full screen barbershop to show some of this off here. Let's go through clothes, and anytime you see this little symbol next to something, it is something from that mod. So you can see some plate armor being added into here, some nice Teutonic and Order of Santiago tunics over chainmail. So just to take a look at a couple of these, and it really expands stuff like the Arabic options for clothing in the game. Or if we jump all the way down, we get even more Abbasid armor here with leather versions of the plate armor that comes default with the game. So a nice amount of clothes, but really the real shining part is the headwear, because I think that's the thing that sticks out the most when you're looking at a character profile. So a lot of Northern Viking helmets. You get a bunch of different kind of Western helmets in here, especially as it comes into different style of coif and plate helmets. A lot of really different options, especially if you're playing towards the later 1400s of this game, right? You're going to be dealing with plate armor, so you can finally get that as an option with some of these cosmetics. And like I said, you can get pretty crazy here, right? Like look at that sugarloaf helm, look at this bassinet, it gets even better. Just take a look at quite a few here. I love the Aragonese dragon helm or the dragon crown. And like I said, this gives you tons of options for not just Western playthroughs. And I think that's really important, right? A lot of Hungarian, Slavic helmets here too. As we go into this, you get a lot of Byzantine style helmets for all the many different types of Byzantine helmets that kind of span through time from the Eastern Roman Empire on onwards. And then a lot of Eastern helmets in and of themselves, Andalusian style, Iranian style. So a lot of really nice cosmetics have been poured into this game, and it's probably one of my favorite mods. A lot of Turkic stuff going on here, Imperial crowns. So cannot recommend this mod enough. I think it's got so much going for it, and I really think everyone should be checking out the community flavor pack. Number 1 on our list is the Once and Future King mod. Now, I don't think this is any better than the community flavor pack. In fact, I think probably the community flavor pack could have been number 1, but this one I love so much because I am a huge fan of Arthurian legend and lore, and that's what this does. It adds this into Crusader Kings 3. Now, you can't become King Arthur, but you can assume the mantle of the Once and Future King. Let's take a look here. So we're going to take a look at the major decision for assuming the mantle and the requirements. So you have to hold the title of the Kingdom of Wales, as well as having a level of fame of 3 or higher. And once you do, you become Once and Future King. You gain the trait Once and Future King. As you can see, this is going to be something that's going to greatly throw the balance of the game out of whack. So keep that in mind. This is very much a fun and roleplay-esque themed mod. In addition to that, all your descendants get Descendant of the Once and Future King, and the dynasty gets Scions of the Once and Future King. And in addition, this mod adds a Britain culture. So let's go ahead and just pop that open too. So we get the actual culture here for Britain that adds into the game with this mod as well. And what's cool about this is the title here is the Kingdom of Wales, right? Well, if I'm Britain, it becomes the Brythonic Kingdom, which is pretty nice, pretty cool history there. So let's see what happens once you assume the mantle of Once and Future King. We've jumped ahead to do the decision to assume the mantle of the king because we are now the King of Wales. So let's assume the mantle, and we get a nice, really cool bit of lore here, kind of explaining how this fits into the Crusader Kings 3 playthrough, and how, again, you're not King Arthur, but you are that descendant. And once you do that, you get 2 new decisions. You can begin the quest for Excalibur, which is going to cost you some money, and it will give you a ton of bonuses. Like I was saying before, this is not necessarily the most balanced mod. It's meant to be fun, flavorful, and really give you a different playthrough if you're trying to get that Arthurian legend. By going on the quest for Excalibur, though, you get access to his flagship, his shield, his horse. So it's a very cool way to just expand the raiment of King Arthur. But also, you can go on a quest for the Grail. And each one of these will give you or present you with decisions where you have to decide, do you want to make one super character, the character you're playing, or do you want to empower his entire dynasty and make this the entire dynasty being the stewards of the Once and Future King? So I don't want to ruin any of it for you, but I promise that going through these quests is a lot of fun as you kind of write your character and the legend of King Arthur alongside it. And that brings our list to a close. So hopefully you enjoyed this really quick romp through some of my favorite quality of life mods for Crusader Kings 3. And there are plenty of other mods that you can really jump into that make this game amazing when it comes to quality of life improvements. If you want to share some of those mods, please, by all means, guys, leave a comment below showing off some of your favorite mods that increase that quality of life. Like I said, there's some that I didn't even include, like the one that allows you to craft an heirloom, or one that allows you to actually fight on the battlefield with the enemy general. There's so many things in the game, and a lot of these will hopefully be entering in the Royal Courts DLC, such as the minor titles, which seem to be a big part of the Royal Courts, as well as family heirloom crafting. So if you want to see a video based off of that, please, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, all that action, but have a good one and take care.